You know, it's like, that's another thing I want to do. You know, like, I've been an organizer all my life without any resources whatsoever, just my own energies in organizing people and developing things that we can go in. And we've won some battles. So I want to use some of those skills and try to organize ourselves as Hawaiians. You know, it's like, we don't need anybody in this state. We don't need anybody to stand up and become sovereign. We don't need anybody. We have everything we need. We just haven't united. That's the only problem. You know, if we bring Hawaiian Homes, OHA, Kamehameha School, Liliuokalani Children's Center, all of the sovereignty groups together, we got land, we got funds, we got smart people, I mean, we got everything. All we got to do is stop looking for somebody to anoint us from Washington and start building our nation. You know, it's like, you cannot have unity without, you know, coming together. I mean, so how are you going to get sovereignty if there's no unity? You know, it's like, you cannot force this on somebody. You cannot come with guns and force the Hawaiians together because you have the answer. We just somehow got to come together. And I don't have the answer for how that's going to happen, but I feel that over the last 20 years, I've watched so many fights among ourselves as Hawaiians because it was a natural thing to happen. I saw OHA transform into something that was not supposed to be, but that's who we are. We are who we are. We're a bunch of confused people that got totally covered over by this outside, I don't know what you call them, colonialism or whatever that was, where they took over the educational system and made us all howlies. I was a product of that. I mean, I look at my generation who are now leaders in all of the business communities and confused. They don't know, am I thinking like a Hawaiian or am I thinking like a haole? You got to stop and think now because you've been brainwashed. So we've gone through that confusion since the 70s, and I think it's about time to stop fighting with one another and trying to, you know, like my halau is better than your halau, or my canoe club has the answers on how to go fast. But okay, we went through all of that, and then we got all these different sovereignty groups trying to say theirs is the only answer. You know, the feeling I'm getting is now, okay, we've gone through that phase. Now let's go through the unity phase. You know, it's like, stop fighting with one another. We got other guys to fight against. Stop mistrusting one another. Let's just mistrust the corporations and the government. That's good enough. That's a lot to mistrust. We don't need to go and fight with each other. And can we come together? You know, it's like, we have to. We just have to.
You know, OHA has convened over the years a number of opportunities for all these different people to come together. Native Hawaiian Coalition is primary one. But none of them seem to work. Any ideas about why that might happen?
Well, you know, it's timing. You know, it's like, one thing I've learned is if the waves are up and it's high tide, no go pick up pee. You can die. You know, so it's a lot has to do with timing. You know, it's like everybody had to flex their muscles over the years. You know, like go do your research, get the facts, and then the facts just make you mad. And you act like when you're mad, and then you calm down a little bit, and then these other guys get more facts, and they add more things, and now we're beginning to see the picture. And then people beginning to believe the picture. There's more people now. The things we talk about today, in the 70s was radical. I mean, we were like hippies, pilau Hawaiians, all those words were thrown on us because we were talking radical things. Today it's all middle of the road now. So I'm thinking, you know, it took time to get from there to here. So I think, hoping that this time we can actually get together and kind of like give each other some slack. You know, like, I might not agree with you, but we're learning how to disagree. And that's taking some time for us to learn how to disagree with each other and still be together. And I think I'm crossing my fingers that we're getting close to that. And that's why I want to get into OHA and be part of trying to unify. And I don't want to unify just the Hawaiians, because I don't think we can protect our environment by just being Hawaiians. I think we need a lot of help from the non-Hawaiians. And the ones that I see closest to the Hawaiian way of thinking is the conservationists. People who, like scientists who study corals or study water, and groups that, non-governmental groups that trying to save things, whether it's in the forest or in the ocean or wherever. They love the things that we love. They might not have the survival relationship with those things, but that might be our closest allies. So, you know, I'm out there saying to all of these environmentalists, look, you guys are going to lose just like us if we don't get together. These corporations are going to cover us. They're going to win this battle over our government, and we're going to be up the creek, you know. So try to unite Hawaiians with conservationists so that we can have enough of a coalition to go to the government and not allow these corporations to just use our resources without any concern about whether they, you know, just make everything cheap because you don't have to pay for all the environmental losses. You know, we got to live with all of the environmental losses. You
want to comment on the cruise ship industry? The cruise ships are still coming there, right?
Not the big ones. The big ones, we took care of that one pretty good.
What does that mean?
They don't even come to Molokai.
But they used to come.
Well, they tried to come a couple times, but we said aole. We said aole to a lot of things coming to Molokai. And because
they don't really have to ask permission to come, right? I mean, no. Don't they, the state of the DLNR guys maybe? So the big cruise ships, when they came, you know, tourism is a sensitive industry. It's controlled by whatever's happening outside. Hawaii has no control over tourism. So when they came to Molokai, we figured if we yell at them, they're not going to come. So we started yelling at them. You know, it's like, don't come, we don't want you here. And if the community says that, the people who in control of this group of people that they bring into Molokai are going, whoa, you know, I want them to come back. If it's a bad situation on Molokai, then let's go around those guys. And basically that's what happened. And then the weather really helped. The winds on Molokai. So we were there, we saw the ships come in, and we said, oh, if they come a little bit late at around 10 o'clock, we got them. Because every day at 10 o'clock, the winds come down the channel. And they tried to park right outside of the wharf in the channel. Sure enough, as soon as 10 o'clock came, the ship couldn't anchor their ship. And the wind puts all these small waves, and they couldn't unload guys from the big ship to the small ship. And they knew that we had lined the whole road with people with signs saying, go home. You know, it's like, take your pennies and go home. So they didn't have a chance. And, you know, some people got angry at us because they were ready to sell stuff and it was getting close to Christmas and all that kind of stuff. But the basic thing was, we only had one bathroom on this whole wharf, and it was a couple thousand people. You know, it was like, duh, you know, and that was like, it said it all, you know. And they were going to take all the buses, our school buses. So I know. And what if something happened? How are we going to get the kids home? You know, they were willing to do anything with no preparation just to get the $5 for your shirt that you're going to buy or the trinkets that you're going to buy. You know, like, that was a bad precedent. So we're the only island that stopped cruise ships from coming to the island. And then now we got these little cruise ships coming to the island, like 30, 40 guys in a cruise ship. So that one, we almost all went to jail on that one. we were like blocking the harbor, and they brought in national security guys, Coast Guard, every single agency from the federal government to the state government to all the police from the county was all on our wharf. There was more guys with guns than there was people from Molokai on the wharf. The government, I mean, they just came with a show of force on us. So what we did was we wrote up rules
these guys come over here on their cruise ship. We had rules for them that what they could and could not do. They could only come with 2 vans maximum. They slept on their cruise ship. We said, you cannot sleep on your cruise ship. You got to sleep in our hotels. Our hotels are hurting. They ate food on the, breakfast and lunch and whatever on the cruise ships. We said, no, you got to eat in our restaurant. And you guys got to give a certain percentage to a community fund. And there are certain places on Molokai that you cannot go to. All of our sacred places, we listed them all that you cannot go. What else? Those are like a couple pages of rules. And we handed them over to DLNR and says, take this to DOT, between you guys and DOT in charge of the harbor. When these guys come, they need to follow all these rules before you give them a permit. And we're waiting to hear back whether or not our demands are going to be heard. But at least we're trying to work the system instead of just going out there and getting arrested all the time. It's like, okay, we're willing to get arrested, but isn't there a better way to resolve this problem? And we're crossing our fingers that this thing might work.
So you haven't heard back yet?
No, and we're close to getting an answer because we handed in our papers about a month ago. And we did a 3-month, 4-month community process. Went to every district and had meetings and we wrote everything on the boards and collected all the stuff and analyzed all the stuff. And we did it was the OHA Moku or the OHA Kiole. That's the group on Molokai. We organized ourselves on Molokai into the OHA. And we really like that concept on Molokai. It's all about resource management on the bottom. Each Ahu Pua'a identifies their leaders, identifies their resources, and it goes into the Moku districts and then to the Kiole on the top.
So you would take that method of organizing to the Office of Hawaiian Affairs if you got elected?
Not only that, but there was a law passed this year that said each island is supposed to do that. Mm-hmm. So I put as much resources as I can to make these things work. Because if these things work, we might have a way of governance for the Hawaiian people.
Speaking of governance, and well, just kind of like I'm going to shift to this idea of role. There's a Native Hawaiian Role Commission that's been established, and they're operating right now. Do you have a position?
I'm really anxious. On Molokai, Molokai Ranch came in and they said they're going to put 5 miles of hotels and houses all along our best fishing grounds on Molokai. And my initial reaction to that was, no way. So we went through a process on Molokai where we sat for 2 years and we planned and we discussed and we came out. And after that whole process, my position was still the same, but I knew exactly what was going on. So I'm in this process now that the Role Commission, for me, what I see is an opportunity. Whether that thing going to work or not, we're never going to know until we go through it. It's the same reason why we sat 2 years in that room, was to see if there was a way for a win-win situation, and then it turned out there was no way. But I'm willing to do the process, and it's the same thing with this one. It's like, I'm listening, and I'm hoping, it's like, is this the one that's going to actually unify us, or we're still going to keep fighting? And it's not a federal thing, it's more home-based. And there's more chance for us to start driving this car, wherever this car is going, and nobody knows where the car is going. And it's a matter of who's going to organize and who's going to get the act together and who's going to present to the people something that makes sense and convince the people that this is where the car should go. So I'm hoping, and I'm willing to stay open and participate in this system, but I'm also willing to set the thing on fire if it doesn't work. It's the same attitude I have about OHA. In 1978, we participated, we helped create this office, and the goal was the same we have right now, where Hawaiians would be in charge of their own future. They would control their own destiny. So create this Office of Hawaiian Affairs. But the people weren't ready. I mean, OHA has never developed into something that we had dreamed about. So for me now, OHA is just a stepping stone. Like we need to dissolve it sooner or later, because now you get non-Hawaiians in there and all this anti-stuff against Hawaiians is making this thing into something we really didn't want. But that's okay, we've used it so far. Maybe we can, sooner or later transfer it into something better. And I'm hoping that this Royal Commission stuff can help us create something better, so that we can dissolve what we got and have something a little bit better. And it might not be the exact end result. I don't know, maybe it's going to be who we want to be. I don't know, but I see it as a stepping stone for us as Hawaiians, for the next generation to have this hope and this dream that one day they're going to be able to control their own destiny and have some freedom, And it's not to control your own destiny in order to make money. It's to ensure that this Hawaii lasts forever. Because the people, the indigenous people of this place, this is their place, so they want it to last forever. And if they have no control, it's not going to last forever. So we need to gain control over the whole thing somehow, for the purpose of making everybody better. So we all can live here, not only for today, but forever and ever and ever. And that's the role of the Hawaiians. And that's why we need to have our sovereignty back, so that we can make this place last forever. That's the whole story of Haloa. You take care of Haloa, and Haloa will take care of you. It's so simple. It's like, it's not rocket science or anything. It's just that we have no control.
So assuming you get elected, and election is in November this year. Assuming you get elected, what's the first thing that you want to do? What's the first kind of like project or thing that you want to see happen after you get elected?
The first thing if I get elected, I'm going to have a lot of energy, because I'm going, I got elected. So I'm going to use that energy to go out and organize the communities. I want to go out and bring people into OHA. See, OHA is an office. There's no people. I was at the legislature and I saw them dealing with this ceded land stuff. It was a handful of people walking in and out of offices, making deals. It's like, where's the people? Without the people, you're not negotiating. You're begging, because you're you're a small little office. You got nothing. So whatever crumbs, we got 25 acres. It's like, oh my God, that's shameful. Because you didn't have the people. You had no base of power. You had nothing to give you equal setting at the table. It's not there. So I want to go out and go to all the different communities and bring them in and somehow connect them to our office. I want this thing to have a solid people base, whatever that's going to be. And I don't know what's going to, that's why I'm really crossing my fingers about the Royal Commission. I want to see, why is Kamehameha Schools only concerned about education? That's stupid. That's ridiculous, Yes, they're doing a good job, but don't stand there in your laurels and huff and puff and say how great you're doing. Look at all the other problems you're not looking at and not getting involved with leadership and resources. It's like education is just one part of what we need as Hawaiians today. And same with Liliuokalani Children's Center. All these guys got to get their blindfolds off, come together and see us all, so that we can pick ourselves up, So yeah, I want to bring those guys together, bring the people together, and come together as a people. It's like, there's no reason why we cannot do that.